there's a moment you realize that being the reliable one isn't protecting you anymore. It's costing you. It's costing you respect. It's costing you time. And slowly, it's costing you yourself. You feel the shift coming, the one you're afraid of. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're exhausted from saying yes when your mind is screaming no. You've spent a lifetime reading the room, managing your authentic responses just to keep the peace. But that temporary hit of approval is being replaced by a quiet, burning resentment. It's the slow realization that you've been playing a game where everyone else wrote the rules. This isn't just a habit, it's a cage. You've been conditioned to believe that your worth is measured by your utility to others, that setting a boundary is selfish, that conflict is a threat. The cost of this is a life lived in reaction, a performance, not an existence. Today, we're not just talking about changing the rules, we're flipping the board. This is the blueprint for transforming from a people pleaser, an emotionally vulnerable actor playing a part, into a power player, a confident, strategic operator who functions with emotional restraint and calculated independence. This is how you stop living for others and start building a world defined by you. Let's be brutally honest. People-pleasing isn't kindness. Kindness is a choice made from a position of strength. People-pleasing is a survival strategy born from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being disliked, fear of being abandoned. It's a pattern, learned in childhood, where we discovered that safety and acceptance were conditional. Conditional on being compliant, quiet, and helpful. We learned that expressing our own needs was dangerous, that it could lead to conflict, and so we learned to silence them. Every time you said yes when you wanted to say no, you got a smile, a word of thanks, and your brain gave you a hit of validation. It felt good, momentarily. You essentially became addicted to external approval, running on a hamster wheel, chasing the next hit while your own soul starved. You weren't just being nice. You were engaging in a compulsive behavior reinforced by your own brain chemistry. This is the insidious nature of the trap. It feels like you're doing the right thing, but in reality, you are participating in your own slow erasure. Section 1. The why. Deconstructing the people-pleaser. To dismantle an enemy, you must first understand it. The people-pleaser identity isn't who you are. It's a psychological construct you built long ago, a suit of armor that has now become a prison. We can call it the survival self. It was designed for one purpose, to navigate threatening environments and ensure your inclusion. It taught you to be obedient and reactive, because in your past, that's what kept you safe. This survival self operates from a place of deep-seated fear. The core fear is that if you stop performing, if you stop being useful, you will be deemed worthless and cast out. This isn't a conscious thought. It's a primal, subconscious terror that dictates your moves. It's why criticism feels unbearable and why you avoid conflict at all costs. To your survival self, disagreement means a threat to your very safety. This version of you, the one built for survival, not for command, has mastered self-betrayal. Think about it. How many times have you broken a promise to yourself to accommodate someone else? How many times have you swallowed your opinion to avoid making waves? Each time, you commit a small act of treason against your own internal authority. You send a message to your subconscious that your needs, your feelings, and your time are less valuable than those of others. Your sense of self-worth and emotional stability has become almost entirely dependent on outside forces, what psychologists call an external locus of control. You have outsourced your self-esteem, and you are now paying the price with your freedom. This is the constant need to explain and justify yourself, as if you require permission to exist in a way that serves you. This is not a personality trait. It's a deeply learned coping mechanism. And the first step to breaking free is to recognize it for what it is. A relic of your past that is actively sabotaging your future. The transformation begins with the decision to stop being ruled by a version of yourself that was built for a battle that is already over. Section 2. The crushing cost of inaction. Remaining in the people-pleasing cycle is not passive. It is an active choice with devastating consequences. The burnout is just the surface. The true cost corrodes your relationships, your career, and the very core of your identity. Let's be unflinchingly clear about what you are sacrificing. First, you are actively attracting the wrong people. Takers, manipulators, and emotional vampires have a radar for people pleasers. Your lack of boundaries isn't seen as kindness. It's seen as a glaring vulnerability, an open invitation to exploit. You end up in imbalanced, unhealthy relationships where you are constantly overfunctioning, carrying the emotional weight for two, and receiving nothing in return. You are performing connection instead of experiencing it. Second, the cost to your potential is immense. In a professional setting, people-pleasing is career suicide. You say yes to every task, believing it makes you look like a team player, but it actually signals that you don't value your own time. You become the reliable workhorse, not the strategic leader. Leaders are defined by what they say no to. You avoid constructive conflict, which means you never challenge bad ideas or advocate for your own. You're so afraid of being seen as difficult that you become professionally invisible. Third, and most devastatingly, is the erosion of your relationship with yourself. Every time you betray your own needs, you weaken your self-trust. You begin to doubt your own judgment, your own instincts. This leads to chronic indecisiveness, where you can't make a choice without seeking external validation. Your inner voice becomes a faint whisper under the roaring demands of others. This internal conflict manifests as anxiety, a constant hum of stress, because you are living a life that is fundamentally misaligned with who you are. The ultimate cost of inaction is a life unlived. It's looking back in 20 years and realizing you built a life that made everyone else comfortable but left you empty. It's the tragedy of understanding that you were so busy making sure everyone else liked you that you never stopped to ask if you liked yourself. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My growth matters most. Section 3. The pivot. Introducing the power player. Mindset. This is the turning point. This is where we stop diagnosing the problem and start architecting the solution. The transition from people pleaser to power player is not about becoming cold or selfish. That's a fiction created to keep people manageable. The true power player operates from a place of strategic independence and internal sovereignty. This isn't about rejecting people. It's about rejecting the need for their approval. A power player still cares about people, but their actions are a choice, not a compulsion. Their sense of self-worth is not tied to external validation. First is the principle of emotional restraint. The people pleaser is emotionally reactive, an open book, and therefore easily manipulated. The power player understands that emotional restraint creates authority. They control their emotions so that no one else can use those emotions to control them. When people cannot easily read you, they instinctively grant you a measure of respect. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally disciplined. Second is calculated decision-making. The people pleaser operates on autopilot, reacting out of fear. The power player operates with intention. They pause, they assess. They ask themselves, does this align with my goals? Is this the best use of my time and energy? They break the stimulus-response cycle. They understand that their most valuable resources are their time, energy, and focus, and they allocate them with the precision of a master strategist. The third and most important principle is internal sovereignty. This is the bedrock. It's the act of establishing absolute command over your own mind. It means your yes is a real yes, and your no is a real no, because they come from authentic choice, not fear-based obligation. A sovereign individual keeps the promises they make to themselves. They are the ultimate authority in their own life. This pivot is a psychological restructuring. It's the conscious decision to dismantle the version of yourself built for survival and to construct a new version built for command. This new version is not ruthless. It is measured, disciplined, and dangerously valuable. Section 4. The transformation. 4 steps to power. Theory is nothing without action. These are the pillars of your new operating system. Step 1. Master strategic silence and the art of the pause. The people pleaser's greatest weakness is their immediacy. A request comes in, and an immediate yes flies out, driven by anxiety. Your first and most powerful weapon is time. You must create space between a stimulus and your response. This is the strategic pause. When someone asks you for something, your new default response is one of these phrases. Let me check my schedule and get back to you. I need to think about how that fits with my priorities. I'll have to get back to you on that. These phrases are your shield. They are polite, and they give you back control. In that pause, you are not just checking your calendar. You are checking in with yourself. You are moving from an emotional reaction to a logical decision. This pause communicates that your time is valuable and immediately increases their respect for you. Beyond the pause is strategic silence. Power players understand information is leverage. The people pleaser overshares, handing people a manual on how to exploit them. Start practicing calculated opacity. You don't need to broadcast every thought and feeling. When you speak less, people listen more. When you reveal less, people respect you more. Leaders observe silently, allowing conflicts to reveal the motives of others. Your silence becomes a strategic tool. Step 2. Establish absolute inner sovereignty. Your transformation is only sustainable if it is built on unshakable internal validation. A power player is their own source of authority. First, keep the promises you make to yourself. This is non-negotiable. If you tell yourself you are going to wake up at 6 a.m., you do it. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you erode your self-respect. Start with one small, unbreakable promise to yourself each day and honor it like a contract. This builds self-trust, the currency of personal power. Second, systematically eliminate fear-based hesitation. The people pleaser hesitates out of fear of being judged. When you feel that hesitation, identify its root. Is this caution, or is this cowardice? Is this a strategic assessment, or is this a fear of disapproval? Inner sovereignty requires removing fear from the decision-making equation. Make a choice based on your values and goals, and then commit to it fully. Third, dismantle the survival self. This requires a relentless internal audit. Become a detective of your own behavior. Notice every time you shrink. Notice when you use apologetic language for no reason. Notice the urge to over-explain. Each time you catch yourself, you must consciously resist. Stand up straight. Make direct eye contact. State your opinion without a qualifier. Each time you resist, you weaken the survival self and strengthen the command self until the new way of being becomes your default. Step 3. Develop strategic detachment and build options. The people pleaser clings to people, to jobs, to outcomes. The power player practices strategic detachment. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you do not need a specific outcome to feel secure. Detachment is your ultimate leverage. The person who is less attached to the outcome holds the power. If you are not afraid to lose the job, you can negotiate for what you are worth. Your ability to walk away from the table is the source of your freedom. How do you cultivate this? By building multiple options. Dependency is the enemy of freedom. A worker depends on one job. A leader cultivates skills and a network that make them valuable to many. A people pleaser pours their energy into one relationship. A power player nurtures a rich network of friends and interests. Your task is to proactively create options in every area of your life: career, social, financial. Options create leverage. Leverage creates freedom. When you have options, you no longer operate from a place of scarcity and fear. You operate from abundance and choice. Step 4. Activate your Machiavellian scanner and reframe reality. The final step is to upgrade your perception. The people pleaser sees the world through a lens of emotion. The power player sees it through a lens of strategy and power dynamics. This requires activating the Machiavellian scanner. This is not about becoming cynical. It's about becoming a realist. As you interact with people, your scanner is quietly asking, leverage. Who needs whom more in this interaction? Value. Exchange. Is this a win-win? Is this person a giver, a taker, or a matcher? Risk. Could this person or situation harm my goals? How can I mitigate it? Using this scanner allows you to see the underlying mechanics of social dynamics and protect yourself from being exploited. The second part is to reframe. Rejection and betrayal. To the people pleaser, rejection is a devastating verdict on their self-worth. The power player reframes rejection as a simple revelation. It is not an ending, it is data. If someone rejects your idea, it reveals information about their priorities. It is not a statement about your intelligence. If someone betrays your trust, it reveals their character, not your worthiness. Painful experiences are transformed from personal attacks into valuable intelligence. This cognitive reframing builds resilience and strips away the emotional charge that keeps people pleasers paralyzed. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Strength protects my peace. Section 5. The power player. In action. A scenario. Let's crystallize this. It's 4:45 p.m. on a Friday. Your manager, Alex, comes to your desk. I'm so sorry, but the client just sent back huge revisions. I really need them by Monday morning. Can you be a hero and get this done over the weekend? The people pleasers. Response. An immediate jolt of anxiety. The fear of disappointing Alex is overwhelming. Oh, of course, they say, forcing a smile. No problem at all. Inside, resentment is already bubbling. They'll spend their weekend stressed and fuming. They have traded their well-being for a fleeting moment of approval. The power player's response. The power player hears the request and immediately engages the strategic pause. They don't react to Alex's stress. They take a calm breath and say, I understand this is a priority. Let me look at the revisions. I'll come by in 10 minutes to discuss the best way to tackle this. They have not said no. They have not said yes. They have taken back control. During those 10 minutes, the power player activates their Machiavellian scanner. Leverage. Alex needs this done. I have the skills. Leverage is balanced. Value exchange. My weekend is valuable. A fair exchange is required. Options. 1. Do it for nothing. 2. Refuse and risk friction. 3. Negotiate a strategic solution. Having established internal sovereignty, they are not afraid of saying no. They walk into Alex's office with a calm, measured demeanor. Alex, they begin. I've reviewed the notes. This is a significant amount of work. My weekend is fully committed, so working the entire time is not an option. Notice the firm boundary. State it as a fact, not an apology. Then, the pivot to a solution. However, I see how critical this is. I can dedicate 3 hours on Saturday morning to address the most urgent points. That should stabilize the situation for the client. To do that, I will need to push back the deadline on the Johnson report to Tuesday afternoon. Does that work for you? Look at what happened. The power player acknowledged the problem, stated a clear, non-negotiable boundary, offered a partial strategic solution, defined the terms of their engagement, recalibrated expectations on other projects. The power player leaves the conversation with enhanced respect, not resentment. They haven't been a subservient hero. They've been a strategic partner. They didn't just respond, they managed the situation. That is the difference between being a piece on the board and being the player. The journey from people pleaser to power player is not about becoming a different person. It is about becoming the most authentic, powerful version of yourself. This transformation is not easy. It will feel uncomfortable. Setting your first boundary will feel like an act of rebellion. Guilt will surface. This is the old programming fighting back. You must push through it. Remember, when you start setting boundaries, any pushback you receive isn't evidence you're doing something wrong. It's evidence you were doing far too much before. This path is about trading the hollow validation of others for the deep, unshakable respect you have for yourself. It is about building a life not on the shifting sands of public opinion, but on the bedrock of your own sovereign mind. You are choosing to rule your own mind so that society doesn't rule it for you. This is the path to real freedom. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I commit fully. Now, if you are ready to continue this journey, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. The game is changing, and you are no longer a pawn. You are the player.